Hey, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. Good morning. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today, we're continuing our monthly segment called Startup Blog Insights with author and entrepreneur Taffy Williams, who is the co-founder and CEO of Colonial TDC. And Colonial TDC offers a professional team of scientific and business experts to build and grow medical and technology companies. Anyway, good morning, Taffy, and welcome to our Startup Blog Insights for November 2015 live from North Carolina, right?
Yeah, hi, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. Sorry to those people who were looking for us at 6 o'clock. We got kind of screwed up on time. I definitely did it, so it's my fault there. But anyway, this month we're talking about failures. A lot of entrepreneurs come to me as a mentor about failures, and we'll use an article you wrote on your blog recently called 6 Facts Entrepreneurs Must Know About Failure. So anyway, let's get started. In your article, you talked about there was an interesting quote. There are a few facts to remember when faced with impending doom or fear or failure, and we all do this. So maybe a lot of these things that you're going to be talking about will help them overcome and look in things in a different way is what you were trying to say. And I think interesting when you say impending doom or fear or failure, I think for a lot of people, it freezes them. It doesn't allow them to move forward. Right. And I think that's what you're going to kind of share some of your personal stories about this. So anyway, let's talk about the list. You go, failure happens. So, please share your thoughts on this.
Well, clearly, failure happens. We were supposed to start an hour ago. We started an hour later. And failure happens. Okay, so get over it. It can happen. And if you think about having a problem and you think about failure and you walk into any situation with it, it's going to create a problem. You have to recognize that if you're going to do anything you're not familiar with, there's a likely to have this fear of failure, and that just increases your risk. It increases, it may make you more aware, and that's okay. But if you become overly bogged down and unable to work yourself through that fear, you may never take that first step. So fear, and fear of taking those first steps can slow you down, can eliminate your ability to be very agile in your thinking and react if something happens.
No, I think to acknowledge that type of failure is one thing, but to do something about it is another thing, right? I mean, do you have any personal stories that you could share in this area that you've seen?
Just for me, going traveling, when I go to an entirely new area, and I've never been there before, and I've got to rent a car, for example, and I got to drive someplace. And it's, I get to where I start to be overly concerned about how I'm going to get there, the timings and everything else. And I can get so tied down with that I don't even enjoy the trip. It just gets beyond me. I actually will spend time before I go anywhere looking at maps. I will spend time trying to figure out and making sure all the details are worked out. I've seen people be able to get on an airplane, get just at a spur of the moment, go someplace and never think about it. And I'm not one of those people, because I'm overly concerned about that kind of thing. I'm in a car, if I'm driving from one location to another, I've either mapped this stuff out. I've got a pretty good idea where I want to go. I've either got a GPS in there. I have to listen very carefully to make sure that, that I know where I'm headed. All of those things can bog you down. And if I became overly fretful about taking that trip, I might not even take it. So it can happen in your daily life. It can happen in your business. Suppose you want to start a new enterprise, and you say, well, I don't know whether I want to go through this kind of stuff, and it's going to be a lot of work, and I might fail. You could essentially miss a golden opportunity because you didn't even want to take that first step.
Agree. Well, yeah, and the next thing that you mentioned in your article about taking that step is that if you don't take that step, fear increases risk, right?
Well, it
And
also causes you to think about things differently. And if you become overly afraid and become overly cautious, you may find that when you needed to be more aggressive at your next step, that you were so overly cautious that you might miss something that could have taken you and accelerated you to a new level. So it weighs on you. It prevents you. If you're afraid of doing something because you think your boss will fire you, or you're afraid to even talk to your boss about something, and you don't go and present a new novel idea, how do you plan to succeed if everything that you do is weighed down by the fact that you're afraid and that you won't take that step that might accelerate your career?
now there's a line to this, right? I mean, I thought about it on the flip side where people react so fast they haven't even thought through a little bit, right? Right.
I don't tell anybody to go fast. I
Yeah.
tell them to be somewhat cautious, but
Mhm.
not let fear rule your ability to take those steps.
Mhm.
Not take those steps. If you become so inhibited and so concerned that you won't even react or do anything, then you hurt yourself.
Right, right. And I think what happens is that, like you said, I mean, each one of these things we're talking about today are kind of intertwined, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you say failure happens, is to acknowledge it, and then when fear increases risk, that's something that comes from you feeling fearful about something. And this next one is really important. It's called learn from it. It's about, and it being failure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, learn from it. If you remember a few episodes ago, I was talking about changing a light bulb.
Yeah.
And this is one that still I can't get over. I wrote the book on Think Agile, right? And I'm thinking, okay, any idiot would know to go take a look at what you're going to do. And changing a light bulb is so simple. You would think that and you remember this, if you'll remember the story, it was 4.5 hours by the time I was done, and on a ladder, trying to be able to go through the process of getting that all done, because I didn't bother to go through and take the appropriate steps to make sure that I had everything that I needed, that I knew what I was going to end up doing, and it turned out to be way more than changing a simple light bulb. So I was really angry with myself after 4.5 hours wasted time, 7 trips to Lowe's, and all the stuff I had to do. Okay, will I do it again? Maybe. But next time I get on that ladder, I'm more likely to take a serious look at what it is I'm going to do before I start, because that really was awful.
Well, I've also seen people, Taffy, repeat because they haven't learned from it, right?
Just like everybody else, I try not to repeat any more than necessary, but it happens. That's failure. That's failure of a different kind.
Yeah. I mean, and
you know what that comes from? That becomes because you are so confident in what you're going to do, that you believe that whatever it is you're going to do is going to work, and you do it and it doesn't work because you built I know how to do that. I know how to change the light bulb. There's no way that I won't know how to change the light bulb. Oh, I know how to change the fixture because I had to change the fixture. Yes, I know how to do that. And you convince yourself that without looking at it and making sure that what you're going to do needs to get done. So you end up making the same mistake.
Well, do you feel like when entrepreneurs, I mean, are you saying in a lot of ways too that entrepreneurs don't reflect a lot about what has happened in their company? Because they could be minor failures, like a wrong product decision or whatever, or it could be catastrophic where they lose the company or whatever. But I mean, what is a good thing or a good technique for you to kind of reflect back on this failure so that you could actually learn from it? Or
sometimes you don't see that you created a failure. It's like one of the funniest things that ever happened to me when I was younger and I was in a company and all the management was leaving and they left me in charge. right? There was like 50 people in the company, and they said, okay, you know, we got to go. We're raising funds, and the CEO comes in and says, okay, you're in charge while we're gone. So if you make a mistake, make one big enough so we can recognize it, so we can figure it, so we can fix it when we come back. There are always mistakes that you make, and you can make a series of small ones that people will never see that can impact the business. And periodically looking at things and trying to determine, you know, if I had done this differently, or if I had done that differently, or if there was an opportunity and I didn't really exercise it, what would make a difference? Your goal is to end up making your company as valuable as you can. And so, you know, if you make a mistake, but it didn't hurt the value of the company, that's fine. You know, just try not to do that again. The key is to, every time you do something though in the company, to create it where you get the maximal value of whatever it is.
Oh, I see. So basically what you're saying is that if you use that approach of saying that, okay, you know, the end goal is to create the value, whatever you do that leads up to that really doesn't matter. It's just how you deal with it and how you get there will determine that success.
That's correct. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, if you created $1 billion enterprise, I made 1,000 mistakes on the way. I'll forget them, and maybe they were good mistakes. Sometimes mistakes can be good, but the goal is, you know what your goal is, and you know that as you begin to do things, you have to do that. Some things become more irritating. So if you make a mistake by irritating one of your employees and it becomes confrontational and all that kind of stuff, you may still create a valuable company, but the reality is you had a lot of grief and stuff you had to deal with along the way, and maybe you don't want to do that next time. Be a little nicer. Try to do things in a way that makes your life a little bit easier when you're doing it and create the value. Right.
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about the next one where you said you will survive. So this is about, okay, now that you created, you've acknowledged the fear, you've done something about it, and maybe it didn't turn out the way you'd like it, but you know, maybe you could share a story about
one of the things that happens that people are afraid of. Suppose you're afraid of losing your job. Happens. I've done it. You know, I mean, I've written an article on that about CEOs. You know, if you remember my joke about three letters, CEOs are asked to leave quite often. If you're always afraid of losing your job, you know, then you may never be in a position where you'll do the right things on behalf of the company, because rather than take the aggressive steps you need, you're worried you're going to lose your job, so you don't do it. Or if you're afraid about going and talking to your boss and about trying to make something happen that might be of value to the company, presenting a novel idea. So you get tossed out. You'll find a job. You know, you put your stuff together, you try to make sure you protect yourself as much and your family as much as you can. Maybe you try to save some money along the way so that you can, you know, buy yourself some time. When the opportunity comes and you're gone, I'd call it an opportunity. You're having a chance now to pick up and do what you always wanted to do. Is it failure to have lost it? It's painful. It's not something everybody should have to do it once, but not more than once and not for too long when they go on a job search. It helps build character, but
yeah,
you know, it is in a sense, people are going to consider it a failure. Is it a failure? You know, maybe not. It may be just you know, a time when you were the wrong person in the wrong place, you know, and you know, but take advantage of it. Learn whatever happened for a cause it. If the company winds down and that happens, you run out of money, you may have learned a lot from running that business. And the next one you'll start up, you know, and maybe do much better. Yeah, listen to Donald Trump. Okay, what does he say when he's asked about his bankruptcies?
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. You know, are they failures? Well, I don't know. They were legal remedies that allowed him to restructure something. Was it a failure? He managed to restructure the stuff. He managed to take a bad situation and turn it into something that worked.
Right. And you know, it goes back to that first one, right? Because everyone's lens of failure is different as well, right? Yeah. They see it as either a big mountain or they see it as a little hill that they can just climb over, right? So, and then you're trying to get everyone to look at it differently, but also look at it as a little hill too, as well.
Look at it as a little hill and an opportunity for you to emerge, being bigger and better than you were ever before.
Right. Well, I like that. It's very
Had
positive.
had I not had to leave the first company I was in, I would never become a CEO of the second company that I took over and ran.
Right.
Nor would I have
Right.
done any of the other stuff that I've done.
Right.
Was it a failure? Well, the company wound down because they had gone through a major hiccup in terms of clinical trial development that caused them to basically, ultimately, the company failed.
Right.
I left before everybody else did, but I ended up transitioning into something that was even better.
Well, and to remind everyone who's looking at this is, Taffy's in the biomedical industries and pharmaceutical where these product timelines are like 5+
Forever.
years, right?
They're forever.
Yeah, and to appreciate that is that the amount of risk is higher, if you think about it, right, in that type of environment, because one of those trials could go wrong and you're starting from scratch again, or I don't know,
I know a CEO that was in San Diego, raised more than $300 million. Their phase 3 clinical trials demonstrated some safety issues. The FDA said, no way, this is going to get approved. The company had to shut down after, I don't know, was it 7, 8, 10 years worth of effort?
Wow.
And a couple hundred employees were gone. Yeah, it's tough. I'm working with an IT guy, right? I'm working with an IT company right now in the medical area, and he's going out trying to raise capital, and he goes through all these issues and things of structure and how you do things, how you do it with a large organization, where you get the technology from, and how you package it, how you present it, how you end up getting people. I mean, all of this stuff is a learning exercise. No matter what it is you're doing, if you take the information and use it, it will be good for you later in some other enterprise.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting endeavor. Like I was telling you earlier, I was at a conference, and it made me appreciate not only the risk involved in clinical, anything clinical. I mean, I don't care what it is, anything, but also the payoff and the scale of investment. So it was interesting to be there, actually. So let's move forward. Let's talk about take multiple shots on goal. So basically, keep trying. Is that what you're trying to say?
Pretty much. I mean, when you're approaching something and it's going to be a different scenario, you envision the potential of problems. Sometimes you can see them coming. Yeah, okay. I can see my boss treating me as if I'm going to be leaving. Get your resumes out. Put some money in the bank. Talk to some friends about networking. Those are multiple shots on goal for finding your next job.
Right.
Let's suppose that you got a key employee you're worried about losing. If he loses, you don't know what you're going to do. Try to figure out how to learn his job. See if you can find a consultant to come in and start working on behalf of the company that might also learn that job. Maybe talk to a recruiter that could help find somebody in a pinch to replace that individual. There are multiple things you can do sometimes when you foresee a potential issue. Why let yourself fall into the trap and then try to figure out how to fix it? Think about a little bit in advance how to set it up. When you all of a sudden find out that a financing fell through, and now you're hit with this black swan event, and you got maybe 3 weeks left of money. What things can you do that might generate the greatest value and get you funded or keep you alive for a longer period of time? If you knew you were going to run out of money, you should have already planned steps to be able to extend your timeline. But if something catastrophic happens and you didn't count on it and weren't aware of it, how can you extend your timeline? Who are the people you can call right away? Can you get existing investors to ante up under some unique structure? What can you do? And are there multiple approaches? Can you get a business partner to do something? So finding multiple ways to achieve the same goal may help you get past that big catastrophic event.
Right. And let's close on the last one, which is success is up to you, right?
As soon as you decide that you failed and you can't succeed, you're not. Walk out, you're done. You have to actually believe until you're told to stop or forced to stop that you can make it work. You will not continue to work hard. You've already set your anchor on the failure mode if you decided you can't succeed. Your ability to succeed or fail is up to you, whether it's in this one, and if you fail and you have to close the business down and you want to start another one, your ability to succeed is totally up in your hands.
Well, it's about attitude, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
pretty
you're
much.
mentioning in the article. I mean, right? I mean, what you're really saying is that my attitude or approach towards everything will greatly enhance the way I could look at a failure in a different way, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you. I know we're a little late here, but I appreciate you being patient with us here on Nerd Stalker. And
We were successful, and we failed anyway.
That's right. That's right.
We failed to start on time, yet success was up to us, and we achieved our goal.
There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. So
all within the same presentation.
I love it. It's the self-similar context that you raise, Taffy, is enormous here. The self-similarity, they call it. Anyway, let's close out the interview. And again, thank you. Thanks for your patience, and thanks for your time this morning. So how can listeners get a hold of you and learn more about Startup Blog Insights?
Hopefully in the lower corner, you can see sign on colonialtdc.com. That's the website. If you go to that, the drop-down menu has my blog as one of the drop-down pages. You go, it takes you right to the blog, where I used to write for the Examiner. I'm now not writing there anymore, but all the old articles for the Examiner are located there. Some of my photography. And so if you go to that site, that will help you do it. Plus, there are some different ways you can reach me.
Right.
And my book. My book is listed there. You can go see the webpage for that. thinkagilebook.com. I forgot.
Yes. Thank you, Taffy. Anyway, that was Taffy Williams of Colonial TDC. And as he said, you can catch him on colonialtdc.com, and where you'll see tabs for Startup Blog. You'll see Think Agile, as well as his famous photography that he puts on all his blogs.
And my book.
Yeah, and the book. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Blurry, aka Social Greg on Twitter, for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Thanks again, Taffy.
Right, bye-bye.